Hello my fellow Christian fiction lovers, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a full review of The Italian Ballerina by Kristy Cambron. It is her latest release. It's been out for a couple of weeks now, but I've kind of been busy and am just now able to film this review. I did unbox this book in my last video where I gave you some life updates, but I also happened to have that package on hand. A little backstory, that video was actually filmed a couple of weeks ago, but I was traveling and just doing some other things where I knew I wasn't going to be able to post, so I had pre-filmed that to put it out. So cat is out of the bag. That happened quite a few weeks ago, and then I ended up reading the book right before I did some traveling and just summer things, and I read it over the span of 2 days and I totally loved it. Ultimately, this book was a 5-star read for me, but it was a journey getting to those 5 stars, and I definitely want to share that with you. This is a book that you guys know I have been waiting for a while now. I pre-ordered it like the moment I found it was coming out. I found out it was coming out, and so I just cannot wait to share all of my thoughts with you. So let's just get right into it. So The Italian Ballerina is a myriad of plots that somehow connect themselves, but it takes a minute to get there. So we follow quite a few characters, the first of which is, I forget his exact rank, yes, Private Courtney Coleman, and we follow him through 2 different, I guess, timelines and storylines. So the first of which is right after a bar fight in his hometown where his ex-girlfriend's father ultimately bails him out of jail and offers him a job to kind of like pay that back and kind of get him going again. And he accepts it, and while he accepts that offer, and while he's living out on their farm, he reconnects with his ex-girlfriend and learns a secret about her, and they kind of try and figure out what they even are at that point, you know, because they'd had a relationship, but then he had made some poor choices and left. So that's his first storyline, and then his second is after World War II has started, after the US joined World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and he enlists, joins the military, and is fighting in Italy as a medic. And he makes some choices in Italy that put him and I think his like commander in this little hospital that is actually a safe haven for Jews in Italy. So those are the 2 storylines that we are following at the same time with him, so you have to pay attention to the year and the place very carefully. Then we are also following Julia Bradbury, and she is a dancer. She is the Italian ballerina, and we follow 2 storylines from her as well. So the first is as World War II is starting, and she gets involved with this group of dancers that travels around to kind of lift the spirits of their audiences, and they perform in train stations and, you know, just different places, not like grand stages like she's used to. And this one dancer that kind of got her involved, she has a history with him, and she has to overcome some difficult dealings with him, I'll put it that way. And then the second storyline we follow is after some things happen with the dancing group, she and that one other dancer end up at the same hospital in Italy where Courtney and his commander are, and they're connected that way. And then the third character that we follow is Delaney Coleman, who is the granddaughter of Courtney Coleman, and we follow her in the present day as she is traveling to Rome to fight to keep some of her grandfather's belongings that this older lady is claiming are hers. That was such a long description. I don't think I've ever taken so long to describe the plot of a book, but it is messy, it is complicated. For the first half of this book, I was constantly double checking, where are we? Whose perspective is this from? What's the year? What's the place? You know, all of that. And it took a while to figure out. I won't say it's cluttered. I mean, it is a little cluttered and it is hard to follow at times, but I think it really keeps you on your toes and keeps you reading. And the plot does develop pretty steadily, and all of the different timelines, like, I didn't really enjoy them at first because it took me a while to like figure out what's going on, but ultimately I do think it works, and I won't say enjoy, but I did understand and appreciate by the end why there were like 5 timelines going on all at the same time. It connected itself, I think, pretty well. I was able to reconcile it all in my brain by the end. It just took a minute to get there. I read this book over the span of 2 days, most of it in one day, so I was taking in the information very fast, and I didn't have a lot of time to just sit back and think and part and parcel, this is what's happening with this character and this is what's happening over here, those kinds of things. So I would recommend, if you did read this book, take it slower than you might have anticipated, because it's just a jumble of information that you're going to want to get straight to understand the story. So moving on from the plot, we have the characters, obviously, and there are 3 main characters. Private Courtney Coleman was definitely my favorite character in this book. He goes from being just this lost soul to knowing exactly what God wants for him and surrendering to that. And I think it's beautiful to see him want this one thing in his life and have no idea how he's going to get it, to finally realizing that he can only get it by surrendering to the grace of God. And there's definitely a Christian element in this book with that, his coming to Christ, and just, you know, I wouldn't say he flat out refuses God. Maybe he does. I can't quite remember because it's been a few weeks. But he definitely says no to God repeatedly at the beginning of the book, and then his character development, just coming to terms with he can no longer say no to God, is I will never tire of reading redemption stories. Truly, they're amazing. So his character development is just top tier, and I love it. Then we have Julia Bradbury, the dancer, and she has to overcome so many things. She has this history with this one dancer that she just wants to forget, but she does have to face it because she's forced to work with him, and he is not a good guy, and he just like has these conversations with her that make her like deal with her past and really get over what had been dragging her down. And I really enjoyed reading that, of just her overcoming story. Was really powerful, and just, I don't know, it really spoke to me. And then Delaney in the present day, I'm going to be honest, I did not see the necessity of her story until the very end of the book, kind of what had happened with the historical characters, the final ending of that story in the present day, of like what happened after the war and all of that. She ends up traveling to Italy, like I said, and she meets this guy, and she kind of like helps him overcome some things in his life while they're trying to like solve this mystery of these belongings that they're not sure how it connects their 2 families, but somehow it does. And I'll be honest, it was not my favorite story to read, and I felt like it could have been its own book, her Delaney's story, but it wasn't. It was included in this book, and I did, like I said, I did understand the connection. Well, I understood the connection from the beginning, but I understood like kind of more of the necessity of it at the end of the book. Getting through some of it was a little difficult for me, but the way that this story was just tied all together at the very end made me cry. It touched my heart, and I just loved it so much that it pushed it to a 5-star read for me. And I will say that some of my thoughts on the organization of this book are very similar to my thoughts on The Paris Dressmaker, which was Kristy Cambron's last book that came out last year. Kind of a little hard to follow at first. You're unsure what's happening in the beginning, but then it starts to unravel itself and make sense, and then weave into this beautiful tapestry of a book that is just beautiful and makes me want to slowly unpack it eventually one day. So those, I guess, are all of my thoughts on the plot and the characters. As I mentioned previously, there is definitely a faith element in this book. 100% Christian worldview. It's very clean, a great Christian fiction read, and I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it Take it slowly if you do read it, but please let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. If you have read it, if you're planning on reading it, what are your plans with this book? And please tell me that it is at least going on your TBR, because it is well worth it. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a like. And if you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, bye!